Good morning, everybody, to the press briefing with our group president, Iratxe García Perez from the S&D group this morning. I give her the floor, and then, of course, there's time for your questions. Merci.
Buenos días.
Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I hope you had a good summer. I hope you got a chance to rest and gather your strength to go on with our shared task. And this is perhaps the most important plenary of the year today, with this week, with the State of the Union address. And this is when we gather together all the ideas that have been proposed to move forward the Commission's and the institutions' work. And this year, it's a very important period. We've had a difficult summer. It's been difficult in terms of a number of aspects that we as European Union have a responsibility to provide responses to. A drought, forest fires as a result of climate change, a huge energy price spike, and basic consumer goods price rise. This is causing problems for more vulnerable families, and this is something Europe has to respond to. And we've also had the Ukraine war, which has put many people's lives at risk, this war by Putin on Ukraine. And we have that background and a State of the Union address. And so our agenda will be very much marked by all of those issues. So the priorities of the Socialists group, they're not new priorities. We've been raising them for a while. And unfortunately, time has proven us right. So discussions that are now being had in the Council and the Commission, well, they're late to the party because they didn't listen to the Socialist group. We were ahead on what the social and economic consequences of the war would be. So it's important that we should act on energy. That's vital. We need to put a cap on Russian gas prices. That's necessary and also fair. We need to limit the extraordinary profits of those generating energy, because everybody needs to contribute in a situation like this. It shouldn't just be households, families who are paying the price of this political situation. So the huge profits that a lot of energy companies are seeing, they need to contribute to help families, households, and firms. We also need to reduce energy use and, of course, carry on moving forward on our transitions. Now, we have people who are saying that the war should bring back our old polluting energies. Our solution would be the opposite. We feel this situation has shown that we should have been quicker in adopting renewable energies, moving towards diversification and interconnectors. And those are the solutions we need to work on. There are other issues too, which we want to raise in the State of the Union debate on economic governance. We need to give member states room in their budget policies to support firms and households. And we need to talk about a lot of other issues as well. The war in Ukraine continues to be key. There has been a robust united response by the European Union. The sanctions are working, they are having an effect. Support for arming Ukraine is having its effect, so we're heading in the right direction. We need to continue on that road, but we also need to be aware that we should put in place measures that deal with the social and economic consequences. And let me say that if we don't do that, it's going to help Putin in attaining his aims. It will undermine, destabilize European citizens. So we think the measures are important, but also their social consequences need to be dealt with. And then defending the rule of law. In summer, we saw statements by a political leader, Mr. Orban in Hungary, which were completely unacceptable. He spoke against one of the key values of the European Union. He said, "We are not of mixed races and we don't want to be." This is unacceptable in an EU which defends the rule of law, and that's something else that needs to be taken into account. In addition to the debate on the State of the Union, there's also been a debate on Greece. It's very serious that an EU Prime Minister should have ordered spying on an opposition leader without a judicial order and with no legal basis. Yesterday there was a debate on this. We're also going to have a vote on the agreement on a minimum wage. It's a very important issue. For us, it's one of the key issues of this term of the Parliament, and we hope there's going to be adoption of that directive, and that will help us move forward in a direction we've been advocating for many years. We also have the legislation against forced labour, the selling of products produced as a result of forced labour on the EU market. We welcome this proposal, which the S&D has been requesting, advocating for a year. We don't know what the content of the proposal is, but we want to welcome it in any case. And also, in the round of prime ministers who are coming to speak to us, we have Prime Minister Sanna Marin, and we're going to be able to discuss the future of Europe with her. Europe needs leaders like this Prime Minister, committed women who are committed to peace, to Europe. And so I think that's a great opportunity to be able to debate matters with her. And I'd now be... Oh, sorry. Of course, I can't wind up without referring to this important issue. We had the vote in the Bureau of the Parliament yesterday on the appointment of the Secretary General. You all know our position. We made a political statement after the decision had been made. So we wanted to make our position clear. We don't support the procedure. We feel that the principle of transparency is a very important point that needs to be supported in all the European Union institutions. And as a parliament, we're not credible if we're asking others to do something that we don't apply to ourselves. So we completely against the use of this procedure, and that's why we didn't support the appointment of Alessandro Chiocchietti as the new Secretary General. It's one of the most important posts in the Parliament. He should be appointed in a fair, transparent procedure which allows anyone who wants to be a candidate to take the post to present themselves. As I said, we made that clear in our political statement that we made yesterday night. Thank you.
One first question here, and then we move.
Hello. I am Eleonora Vasquez from Euractiv. I have a question on the State of the Union and conference. Okay, great. I have a question on the State of the Union and the conference on the future of Europe. So von der Leyen said she will follow up some citizen recommendation in that speech, and she, I think, mentioned the treaty change issue. Now it seems the Council is kind of ignoring the request of the European Parliament to call for the convention, and there will be the legal possibility for the Parliament to sue the Council if within October they don't do something in that direction. Would you agree to proceed with that suing? Thank you.
Microphone, please.
Sorry. Con lo que estamos de acuerdo es...
What we do agree with is that we have the obligation to respond given the work and proposals from that conference on the future of Europe, organising an open debate with citizenship and institutions for a year. That can't just stay in a drawer. Now, what we do think is important is to ask the Commission and the Council to put on the table a plan to say how we can follow up from all those requests. So some people, some of them are to do with changing treaties, some are to do with changing things as they are, but we need a roadmap for this. The convention for us is something that needs to be taken into account, and we've supported that from the start. There are lots of other issues that need to be looked at. That's what we'll be calling for tomorrow in the debate on the State of the Union. A roadmap setting out the timescale, the time, and what we're going to feed into the conclusions.
2 questions, yes, please. And then après, David, please introduce yourselves. Merci.
Buenos días, Tommaso Galavotti de la agencia.
Good morning. Kronos, Italian press agency. Now, I've got a question on the package that the Commission will be talking about to do with energy today. Now, it's very important, but the Commission has decided not to say anything about it today. There'll be an announcement tomorrow. Do you think that's a transparent and smart way of dealing with such a big issue for European citizens?
Entiendo, imagino.
Well, I do understand. I take it that what the Commission wants to do is focus on those measures during the debate on the State of the Union. So the S&D group, what we've done is to include in this week's agenda a specific debate on energy policy, because we're very much aware that some people say everything's to do with this. For us, the energy crisis is a fundamental crisis that we need to put all necessary time into. But the debate on the State of the Union can't just be about the energy crisis. So that's why we've asked for the 2 debates. Well, the draw has to take place anyway, but the Socialists wanted the specific debate on energy policy and the energy price crisis in the plenary to talk about that specifically. So our group, the head of our group in the Bureau, will be able to give you more detail about that later today on our measures.
Absolutely. The press point is at 1:30 with our Vice President, Mohamed Chahim. Next one, David, please.
Merci. David Carretta, Radio Radicale, Radio Italienne.
David Carretero from the Italian radio. In 12 days, we have the elections in Italy. We could have a woman as prime minister, but in political terms, she's very different from from Sanna Marin. So I want to know whether that is something that frightens you? Is it problematic? I'd like to know your opinion on that. Secondly, on the Secretary General, the Renew president said that you are protesting because you weren't part of the deal, and that the old procedure was better because it was worse because it was EPP and S&D, and they made the agreement between them. And secondly, there's a building just opposite here that the French government wants to sell to the European Parliament. Is that part of the deal? Would you be in favour of buying this fantastic building from the French government at a time of crisis like the one that we're living through at the moment?
Bueno, pues voy a comenzar con la última.
Let me start with the last question on the sale of that building, whether that's part of the deal. Well, you should ask the people who were involved in the deal that. We weren't involved, so we don't know whether that is part of the deal between Renew and the EPP. In any case, if that is the case, people are responsible for their own decisions. I can't give you any information on that. On Renew's accusation, Stéphane Séjourné's accusation about the past and the present, what I can tell you, or what I can talk about, is what this group is doing now when I am president of the group. That's my responsibility. And so I can answer for the position we're taking at the moment. And that position is the same as international organizations like Transparency International have. It's even the position that resolutions of this Parliament have raised in the past. We've talked about this in the Parliament. We've drafted and issued resolutions talking about what procedures should be in other institutions. But if we talk about what the procedures should be in other institutions, we have to apply that to ourselves. So our group decision was taken in a transparent manner in a debate in the group, taking into account the Parliament's resolutions and responding to concerns from organisations like Transparency International. And finally, obviously, we are worried about a Europe where there are governments led by populists and the extreme right. We'll see what happens in Italy. We still have to see what the elections result in. Italy is, well, it's a worry for Europe as a whole. And we, the pro-European political forces, should continue to work to prevent populist extreme right forces coming into power. We're also concerned about the actions of other political groups like the EPP. Even the Liberals will see what happens in Sweden, and we're worried that they are taking part in governments that include the extreme right, because normalizing having the extreme right in European institutions means that political forces have failed in the construction of Europe. So we're going to carry on working to prevent that happening.
One, please, and then afterwards, Thomas.
Muchas gracias, Andrés Gil.
Thank you. Andres Gil, Diario.es, talking about normalization of the extreme right. Maybe what's happening here is what happened yesterday with the ECR's support in terms of changes of allegiance. Now, this parliament started with a socialist liberal alliance, and it looks like things are moving towards ECR in terms of the allegiances. Now, Are you disappointed with what's happening with the choice of Secretary General following Metzola's appointment?
En la anterior
Well, as I said in the previous question, obviously we're concerned with the normalisation of certain political forces, including the extreme right, and that means a number of things, such as Mr. Weber in Italy supporting Berlusconi's party, Forza Italia, which is in favour of an alliance with the extreme right. We're worried about that, and also that might mean a change within the European Parliament in terms of setup. Previously, with our differences, we've worked with pro-European forces with different ideological backgrounds, and what we hope is that those that attempted, such as the EPP and even the Liberals, tempted to form allegiances with more populist and far-right forces, we hope that they come back to the pro-European side of things, which is what we hope.
We have to go to listen to Sanna Marin. Thomas.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thomas Kutschka, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. You said that you...
1 second, please.
You've said that you were opposed to the deal to elect the new Secretary General as a group. However, 2 of your 5 representatives at the Bureau voted in favor of this new Secretary General. So, could you please explain that?
Bueno, que yo explique la...
Explaining the personal decisions of my colleagues is difficult. I can explain the group's decision. I took part in that. I took part in the group debate. What I can't talk about is the personal position of some of my colleagues. My responsibility is to defend the outcome of the debate in my political group. And I'll link into something you asked me, Andres. I didn't forget. You asked whether this undermines our confidence in the Parliament's president. Well, obviously, this is disappointing because right from the outset of this mandate, when we expressed our support for President Metsola, we said she needs to represent the whole institution and not one side or other. And this is a step backwards. We do want to continue cooperating both with the President and other groups. It's not a time for breaking off relations or cooperation, but obviously it's a disappointment and we hope things will take another direction.
Later this week. Merci.